All right. Okay. Yeah, we got this. It's gonna move maybe my screen a little bit to the right. Yeah, gonna move it here. Yeah, so I wanted to do like a recap. I did a little presentation. So I'll just go over the stats basically, and yeah, do a little bit of an overview of where we started and basically my next steps, and do a review of a couple of games that are important. So yeah, that's 1CCs, 151 CCs. So over the last 43 months, so I started in August 2021. So that was my first time, actually, my first 1CC, August 2020, sorry. And basically since then, I've been going on this journey of 1CCs. And so far I've done 150 unique games. So basically, the way I count is that one game is one, even if I play one game multiple times, I only count it as one. So I ended up doing 151 CCs, and it accounted for like 200 clears. So overall 201 CCs, but like if you count unique games, it's 150. And most of them, the majority of them are basically no death. Yeah. And that accounts for, like, if we count all of them, all the 200 clears, that's 114 hours of like footage and content. So that's a lot of 1CCs, man. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the God. Yeah, we're just basically trying, like it started long time ago. So basically, yeah, what I was gonna do is I was gonna start by talking a little bit about the progress, since I started. Then analyze the numbers a little bit, go deeper into, the details of, like, break it down a little bit of what types of games I played, the developers, that kind of, like, a little bit more into the details, because I like numbers, and in my job that's what I do. So I like to do that in video games as well. And then basically do a little bit of a ranking of the games I like, or the games that I found most challenging. So sort of like a tier list, but only for the games that I played. And basically after that, talk a little bit about what's next. So what's coming up in the next months, because well, it's not over. It's not over when it comes to 1CCs. We're just gonna continue, but I thought I'll just talk a little bit about those points here. Okay, so first, bit of history. When I started. So here's the breakdown of basically the first 1CCs I started. So my first 1CC was in August 2020. It was the Streets of Rage 4. So when I started this journey, basically it was 2020. The pandemic happened, and we got to stay home. So I got a little bit more time actually to spend at home than I used to, and I got into basically Twitch. So Twitch, actually started watching Twitch and retro games, in like when at the same time as Streets of Rage 4. So when Streets of Rage 4 came up, it was mid 2020 in April. I started playing Streets of Rage 4. So that was the first time, the first 1CC I've done, but also the first time where I started to get into more retro games. Like before Streets of Rage 4, although it's not a retro game, but Streets of Rage 4 is the one that got me into retro gaming and watching like Twitch. And I watched more Twitch. I used to watch Twitch before, but I think all the retro, I guess the revival started with the Streets of Rage 4. So yeah, looking at Streets of Rage 4 basically is I did that, and then I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna start clearing, games here and there in terms of, Streets of Rage 4 was the one I wanted to clear, did Mania. I think you, Captain Gordon, as well, you played Streets of Rage 4. I think this is what I saw your channel at the beginning. You did like a no death Axel. So yeah, that's basically when I decided, okay, well, I want to do no death Axel. I started learning the game just casually, just trying to beat story mode, then beating Mania. Well, beating like normal, hardest, then Mania. And Mania on V4, like the first iteration of the game, was just so hard. So when I did it, actually, I was like so happy. And then I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna just, I enjoy this, so why not continuing? So at the beginning, it wasn't very serious, like my journey to do 1cc's. If you look here, from August until March, like mostly it's one game, 2 games, not a lot. So the second game I cleared was Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. That was actually the second game I went and cleared. I decided to learn. Yeah, after that, I actually, when I got into like learn a little bit more about like 1cc's, because before I didn't know what like 1cc was. I didn't know it was a thing, like people clear games in 1 credit, that kind of stuff. I didn't really, get into it, but when I started searching about it and watching YouTube and stuff, that's when basically I decided, okay, why not do it? Just learn the game and watch videos, of people doing it. So yeah, I did Streets of Rage 4, as I said, did Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Then I did the Streets of Rage 2 Mania. That was another game that I cleared early. And then I also did what else I did? Yeah, I did Final Fight. Yeah, so Final Fight I actually was very, very sweaty, like I didn't know a lot about arcade games in terms of like how to basically strategize, watch people, learn the strats, that kind of stuff. So when I started learning Final Fight, it's really when I decided, okay, well, I need a structure, and I found Scoop. Scoop was one of the when I was trying to learn the game. Scoop was one of the channels I looked up, and he actually has a lot of 1 credit clears of the games, and he got me into learning Final Fight, and I learned a lot from his channel on Final Fight. And this is where I picked up how to basically learn the game, understand the mechanics, then clear it, and then safe state practice. Because I used safe state practice, but not a lot. But really, what I started learning Final Fight is when I got into, okay, well, this is like I use safe state practice and those kind of things way more than usual. So yeah, the first I would say, here I presented things like last 12 months. So last 12 months I did basically 78 clears. But if you look at the beginning, 13 clears. Then I started progressing. I think 2021 is really when things picked up in terms of pace, and I took this more seriously, especially in the fall. In the fall, when I started to become more invested in this little project, because yeah, when you look at like after March, yeah, I look 3, 4, this is not bad. 5. Usually those early games, I used to do like 2, 3 games of the same, 2, 3 clears of the same game. That's why my numbers here are higher. But then really the pace picked up like at the holidays. Yeah, at the holidays I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna make a little bit of a project. And this is where I developed a little bit of a list. Yeah, I developed a list around this time, in I would say, when? Yeah, around December, November, we developed a list and decided, okay, I'm gonna make this a little project, and I'm gonna try to clear as many games as possible. And if you look at my progression, yeah, I think that putting together an objective and working towards it really helped structure this and basically improve. Like, yeah, crazy, like 43 clears. Then the next 12 months I did 66 and then 78. So it's been a crazy journey. And if I look at the calendar year, I think I've done over 100. Like if I look between like January 2023 and December 2023, that's over 100 clears. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a little bit of a story of how started, how I got into 1cc's and how I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna continue this journey. So, okay, well, now let's look into the numbers. So this is the 151 cc's. So that's basically 200 clears of multiple games of 150. Yeah, a lot of the games mostly the games that I like, I like to do a couple of extra clears, either within different characters, different routes, different difficulties. So that's why a lot of the time, yeah, you'll see it's mostly like Streets of Rage 4 is the game I've done all Streets of Rage series basically 1, 2, 3, 4. I've done multiple clears of the same game. Recently with the D&D games, some Final Fight. I've done multiple clears with it. Metal Slug, multiple clears. So yeah, Shock Troopers also multiple clears. So pretty much maybe 3-4 games that I like did a lot of clears, which is a lot. And most of it was basically 9 times out of 10 of the games I play was no death. If a no death is doable, I prefer to go for no death. If a no death is too sweaty, I'd like to just focus on the 1cc and move on. But most of the games I chose when I catered the list were basically the games that I saw that the no death is the potential. But also no death is basically no death. Some games, especially arcade games, they give you only 1 life. So I mean the 1cc is a no death, so it's like you can't 1cc the game if you die. But I count everything as no death, even the ones that are like only 1cc. But obviously you didn't die, so it's a no death. But a lot of the games, especially arcade games, a lot of them only give you 1 life, and yeah. But anyway, whenever I can, I go for no death. If not, I settle for 1cc. But most of the games I decided to play were 1cc. And I did this over 18 platforms. So obviously, most of the games I played were on arcade. So like 2 out of 3 are arcade. And the rest of like the 17 platforms are basically other platforms. So we're talking about like PS4, Genesis, SNES, and we'll go over the platforms, but mostly the concentration is in the 16-bit era and arcade. I would say 90%, 95% is probably 3-4 platforms. So 18 platforms, but mainly the biggest chunk is arcade and SNES, Genesis. So yeah, since I started, it's been like 43 months. So that's 3 years and 3 years and 7 months. So pretty good. I mean, I would say my pace picked up pretty much over the last 2 years. So 2 years and a half, I would say. So that's like, mostly 30 months. But 43 months, that's about almost 5 clears per month. So yeah, that's 1 clear per week. that was basically the pace. And I think like 2 to 3 clears a week if we count, let's say, the last 6 months. And on average, this is basically, I did an average of the clear time. So how much time it took me to clear the game. This is a successful clear average time. So successful clear is about 34 minutes. Yeah, great pace. Yeah, I mean, this became my second job basically. It's a hobby for me, but obviously I became so dedicated that I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna stick to the schedule. But yeah, a successful clear on average takes 34 minutes. This is because basically I do a lot of arcade games or retro games, and like they're on usually this is the sweet spot. Like for me, the best clear is about 20 to 30 minutes. If a clear is above that, it's not that I don't like it, but the best depends on the game, because some of the games can be long but not very hard, and some of the games can be hard but super short. So difficulty and length do not correlate all the time. But let's say the average clear time that I chose that I like personally is around this time, 20 to 30 minutes. And it turned out that basically on average these are the games that I like to play. Okay, so let's dive into the genres. So this is the breakdown of the 150 games by genre, and you can see basically where my bias is. A lot of beat 'em ups, a lot of hack and slash, You know what? Like the beat 'em up definition is wider here. Like we're talking about belt scrollers, but we're also talking about like 2D side scrollers. Like let's say a beat 'em up. I count a beat 'em up as like a Ninja Warriors for Ninja Warriors, or what else? Yeah, Ninja Warriors, Bad Dudes. You know, those are like 2D side scrolling, but they're beat 'em up. So this fits into the genre. Hack and slash, although like obviously Golden Axe, you know, D&Ds, King of Dragons, you know, these kind of like games that basically play like a beat 'em up. They have all the beat 'em up mechanics, but they're not like fist, you know, not melee. They're like mostly yeah, with sword and hack and slash. So yeah. So overall, yeah, 63 games. I mean, it's quite a lot of games. Followed by run and gun. So yeah, run and guns such as, you know, Metal Slug, yeah, you know, Metal Slug mainly, but obviously there's so many run and guns. So yeah, almost, yeah, 30% run and guns. Action platformers, obviously I like to play action platformers, especially for console games. So there is a lot of them as well. And also there was a period where I was discovering the FMV QTEs. So yeah, FMV QTEs are also like basically a genre that I enjoyed. Like for example, Time Gal, Ninja Hayate, what else? Don Bluth games, you know, the Dragon Slayer? No, not Dragon Slayer, Dragon Lair. Yeah, Dragon Lair. So these kind of games I discovered. I only cleared 6 of them, but I mean, those are like the ones that I found good. But this genre obviously is very repetitive, but the ones that I decided to clear are the ones that I found, you know, pretty good. So that's on the genre. Let's dive into basically the average completion time by genre. So when I said, yeah, earlier it took me 34, like the successful run on average for all games is 34 minutes. But if we break it down by beat 'em ups, run and guns, platformers, and animated movies or FMV QTEs. So obviously, yeah, beat 'em ups are longer, on the longer side, especially because I play a lot of Capcom games, and I play a lot of yeah, mostly Capcom games. I would say they tend to be around that pace. Like if you're not speed running, you know, it's about 45 minutes to, yeah, 40 to 45 minutes. Followed by run and gun. So Metal Slugs, although Metal Slugs, they're more on the longer side, like 30 minutes or more. But a lot of like run and guns and shooters are in that area, which is basically the best pace. And action platformers, a lot of, yeah, console games, a lot of arcade games as well, action platformers. And then 13 minutes for the interactive movies. Yeah, interactive movies tend to be very short because, you know, the footage is very short, is around that 12-minute mark, 12 to 15 minutes mark, which is basically the average time it took me for a successful run to go. All right, so that's on the by genre completion time. Now we're talking about platforms. So as I said earlier, 18 platforms, but honestly, 90% is basically these 3. So we talk about arcade games, Genesis, and Super Nintendo. So the three big ones. I have a big bias on over 16-bit era games, and also the 19s games for the arcade. So this is my breakdown. Some PS4, GBA, PC, Nintendo DS, NES, but those are like, we're talking 1 game per system. So there's not a lot of games here in these systems. Even the PS4, we're talking like modern games, but like retro games. But the true retro falls in here. Basically, these 3. All right, so that's on the platform. Now let's dive into the release year. So this is basically where I'm stuck. I'm stuck in the 90s. So the 90s and the early or the late 80s. So those are basically the majority of games I got stuck in. There is a little bit of 87 and before, but here, because I played a lot of FMV QTEs, we're talking like 6, 7 games. So, but also some games that are like Capcom classics or Konami classics that are like in the older periods. So yeah, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. So the golden age of arcade at 16 bits. And then here, once you go past 95, I would say yeah, the percentages fall. So here we're talking about 5 years and it's like 11%. Here we're talking about 20 years, it's only 8%. And here about like the recent 3 years, 4 years, and it's only 5%. So yeah, here's where basically I love to play my games around this era. All right, so that's on the 90s era. I decided to do a breakdown of developer because obviously I like to play certain types of games, and I found my bias here. So if you look at like the developers, if you're breaking down by developer, the biggest ones are Konami, Sega, and Capcom. So these three account for like almost what, like 45%, almost like a bit less than 50% of my games are within these three. Data East, it's funny that like Data East is one of the developers I played a lot. They had like insane games. IREM, you know, all the quality developers from this era. You know, the arcade gods, we would say. And yeah, others obviously it's a big number, but we're talking like one developer per game, as opposed to Capcom, Sega games, Konami. We're talking like more than 10 games per developer. There's also some Taito there, some SNK, obviously with Metal Slug games. Data East, yeah, Data East, amazing. IREM also amazing developer. And if you break it down by country, well, obviously
because of these, Konami, Sega, Capcom, Taito, SNK, Data East, and IREM are all from Japan. Well, most of the games of the developers I played are Japanese. Yeah, I have a big bias over Japanese games for some reason. I don't know. It's not intentional. It's just that the fact that I played a lot of games, I selected a lot of arcade games or console games in the 16-bit era where Japanese developers were very big into. So I ended up having the majority of the games I play is by Japanese developers, which is an interesting fact. That's on the developer. All right, so we move on to the top games. Basically, here I decided to talk about the most challenging no-death clears and my favorite games per genre. So top games by let's say challenging, the ones that I personally found challenging. Obviously, challenging doesn't mean that they're challenging for everyone. It just means that for me they were too sweaty. I sweat a lot. But overall, I would say in terms of challenge, the games that I selected are games that offer an honest challenge. I didn't go for like insane, obscure achievements. I pretty much went for 1cc, no death clears for games that are like basically very popular, enjoyable, and I decided to go for them. But there's still a lot of them were a little bit challenging. And we were talking about no death. So a challenging no death for me is like when it comes to 1cc, they were probably not as challenging. But when I decided to go for no death, the difference is huge. All right, so the first one, I decided to just go over it. Well, first, yeah, D&D Tower of Doom. That's maybe there is a recency bias over here, but I would say in terms of difficulty, yeah, Tower of Doom was definitely not an easy game to clear. Just because, I mean, it's doable. It's not an impossible game to play to clear once you know the game. But I would say it took me a while to just learn the game. I think I spent over 100 hours. Like when I look at my counter from MAME, it's like I'd say 100 hours to learn the game. Yeah, but yeah, thank you, Captain Gordon, for all the tips on the D&D. It was so insightful. it accelerated that learning, but still, I find like very, very difficult. It's a difficult game for many reasons. I mean, it's designed also the design of like the combat, you know, the enemies, the way like a lot of the things make it difficult. The controls, also the inputs are not easy, but yeah, D&D definitely one of the most challenging clears, especially you know doing it with like Elf. You know, the hard character was also didn't help. But I'm glad I stuck to it and I decided to go for it, especially doing different routes with different characters. Really enjoyed it in the end, you know. The most challenging clears, honestly, are the ones that are most rewarding. So that's D&D. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs 1cc was not very difficult. I wouldn't classify it as super challenging. It's not easy, but definitely, especially if you play Mustafa. Mustafa is the easiest to clear the game with. But when you go for No Death, it's another story. Just because of one fight, pretty much. Yes, the Slice Door fight is the one that makes the game so difficult to do a No Death on. But yeah, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs up there when it comes to, yeah. I think I practiced Slice Doors for like 3 days straight. Like just save state in Slice Doors for like maybe, I don't know, 6-7 hours in total. Yeah, just to learn basically, not to learn strategy because there is no strategy like guaranteed strategy. There is a loop, but if you miss the loop, which most of the time you're gonna miss because slicers obviously don't cooperate, they split and then it's hard actually. You need to react all the time, but yeah, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs up there. Final Fight, maybe because it was early as well, so. But it took me a while. It took me at least a month and a half to just learn the game and understand it before going for 1cc. And then the 1cc attempts. So these were my early 1cc. So probably with what I know right now, maybe if I decided to pick up this game later, it would take me less to get to it. But Final Fight definitely very challenging. I mean, it's a hard clear no matter what. Even people who know the game. It's very hard for them to clear this game consistently just because of how the AI works. Yeah, the game cheats. Even if you play with Cody, I mean, it's very hard. But yeah, for me, it was the one that basically I found very hard, but also it's the one that really helped me understand how, you know, like how to learn how to clear games pretty much. The methodology of 1cc, I tightened it in Final Fight. Also, next is Metal Slug Double X. Yeah, this clear was not easy at all. It's a difficult game. Very good game, very good game. It has some issues with how it's designed when it comes to, you know, when it comes to how enemies are placed. It really has a very cheap design. Just straight up, if your strategy doesn't work, the likelihood of you recovering from that is very low. So that's unfortunately one of the issues of the game. But honestly, once you learn the game, it's a pretty good game. But yeah, Metal Slug Double X took me a while before getting it. But yeah, nothing to say. Metal Slug, you know, games are hard, but this one has the very cheap design, harder than Arcade actually. For a game that came out in consoles, it's very interesting to see that like they decided to even make it even harder than Arcade by, you know, putting a lot of cheap spawns, you know, and overwhelming you with enemies left and right. So it's kind of sweaty. All right, next up is Rolling Thunder. Yeah, Rolling Thunder was not an easy clear. We're talking like the arcade Rolling Thunder, the first one. Yeah, the first one is very difficult because for No Death, I would say 1cc is not too bad, but No Death is very sweaty because first you have to go through the game twice, you know, the 2-loop system. The second loop is significantly harder compared to the first loop. But also the game actually first, there is contact damage. So contact damage in this game is the big problem. There is also, you have a life bar, but it's pretty much take 2 hits and you die. Get hit by a pistol or a gun shot and you die. The final boss is also super difficult, so yeah, a lot of cheap stuff. So it took me a while before getting it, but it's a great game overall. I mean, it's not the best Rolling Thunder, but it's a good one. It's a good one to clear. I was happy to clear it. Streets of Rage 3, yeah, Streets of Rage 3 took me a while also to clear. Or to do a no death. 1cc actually, even 1cc is not easy for Streets of Rage, but no death, I would say, took me at least 2 months actually to get the clear, because of the because of Jet pretty much. Jet is such a sweaty boss. It takes a long time to get tightened, and even if you know how to do the fight, you can die very quickly. Like usually the boss hits you 3-4 times, you're dead. So yeah, Streets of Rage 4 definitely. 3. Streets of Rage 4 I would say was challenging, but 3 was definitely the most challenging Streets of Rage game I had to do no death. Steel of Salt. This is a action platformer that came out in 2020. It's a very good game, very well designed, and although the game is not too difficult, but this mode actually, arcade mode, is super challenging. It has a lot of difficult stuff in it, like especially the reason why it's difficult is because they don't give you heals starting from stage 3. There's 6 stages in the game. Starting from stage 3, you have you can only get hit 4 times. I think 4 or 5 times. 5 times, yeah. You have a life bar of 10 hit points. Every time you get hit, you lose 2 hit points, and technically you die. Like if you make a mistake, it carries over, and you can't make too many mistakes in runs. So I find it harder because of that. It's not a great design when it comes to difficulty, but I would say this was one of the most challenging. It took me a while before getting it. Although it didn't take me too many hours to get it, but it took me a lot of hours actually to do the proper run. That's Steel Assault. Okay, SNES Sunset Riders. Sunset Riders is not a difficult clear, but the SNES Sunset Riders hard mode especially, 1cc not too bad. I would say they give you enough life to get through the game. But SNES Sunset Riders on hard mode is another league. That one took me a while, but it's a good game overall. But it's a crazy game. It's a crazy game. It's like, I would say, same difficulty as Counter 3 when it comes to difficulty. You really have to be like super on point in all screens, otherwise you're gonna die. And finally, Zero Team. So here I ranked them by alphabetical order. I don't have anyone that like ranked super high. They're all like within the same range in terms of difficulty, but the last one is Zero Team. Zero Team is very challenging. 1cc is not too bad, to be honest, but not doing it without dying, Zero Team is probably super hard. And this, even with like exploits and like boss strats and stuff like that, especially very hard. The only reason why it's hard is because the final stage gives you no health pretty much. There is no guarantee heals on the final stage, and technically there's only one area where you can get heals, which is the boss. But then if you get hit during the stage, you're in big trouble. So that's so this is my list. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. Yeah, I mean, from the games that I chose to clear, like none of them were impossible to clear, but from all of them that I played, those are the ones that are like found very sweaty. Alright, so here we get, just gonna go over basically my favorites, my top 5, the ones that I really enjoy and that I'll go back to almost every time. By genre. I wanted to do by genre because it's hard to actually put everything in one spot, so I think by genre is a bit more fair because you're comparing the same things. So yeah, the first one, Cadillac for Dinosaurs, one of my favorite beat 'em ups. I don't know why I love it so much. I think it's just because I play it a lot and I enjoy it. Obviously, it's a great beat 'em up. Maybe not the best beat 'em up of all time, if you put in like the standards of how a great beat 'em up. But for me, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs definitely top beat 'em up, top tier. Just because the what I get into beat 'em ups, I like basically movement. A beat 'em up that gives you freedom of movement, and you get a lot of control over your character gets an A for me, straight up. And Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is the one that basically gives you so many options, especially if you play like Mustafa. Even if you play the low tier characters like Hannah, for example, or Jack, even with these two, they're not like great. But once you learn how to play them, actually, you never like feel overwhelmed. There's always the way to recover. So if you reach a certain mastery level at the game, I think this game rewards you a lot with the great movements. TMNT Hyperstone Heist, yeah, this one on the Sega Genesis, great beat 'em up. Same, I think it's because of the freedom of movement that I like it a lot. You're very mobile. You can actually move from the left to the right super quick, and you're very you have a lot of control over your character. So TMNT Hyper, and it's very enjoyable. It has turtles in it, and the mechanics are super good. Like Turtles beat 'em ups, most of them, especially the arcade ones, I would say. They're beat 'em ups, but they're very limited. The one on the Genesis, even on the SNES, although the SNES I'm not a huge fan of, but let's say the Genesis one, definitely one of the best ones because of how the movement is designed, how your character has a lot of options. It's super good. Streets of Rage 3, same, for the same reasons. It might not be the best in the series, but honestly, it's the best for me because you can actually control your character a lot. You have a lot of freedom of movement, and also Streets of Rage 3 actually, difficulty-wise, yeah, people complain about the difficulty, but once you learn the game, the difficulty actually is balanced based on how good you are at the game. If you're great at the game, you know how to move with your character, you're not gonna find it super difficult, but you have to dedicate the time. Otherwise, yeah, it's not an easy game. It's cheap. I would say, yeah, definitely the design is on the cheap side. Just increase damage, increase speed, give enemies high priority. So it's not like a very smart way to improve the difficulty. But once you learn the game is very enjoyable. The Ninja Warriors again. So yeah, this is a beat 'em up or 2D side scroller by Natsume. It's a remake of the early Ninja Warriors, the arcade one. Came on the SNES. Very good game. It also had a remake in 2018 on the PS4 and basically Switch, etc. And also it got re-released, I think, recently on Steam. But yeah, the early game or the first remake on the SNES, very good game. I like it. Has a lot of movement. For a game that only has 3 buttons, it's pretty amazing how much movement you can do, how many move sets. And yeah, this is a very good game. Not the most challenging once you learn it, but in terms of like design and enjoyment and like app presentation, everything, it has everything. And then finally, Zero Team that I discovered recently. Maybe recency biased, but it's such a good game. The reason why I think is just the fun factor. You're definitely not overpowered. Enemies are very cheap. You can die very quickly, but I think it's just the fun factor of Zero Team. Spin is such a good character, so this is why I put this one in my top 5. Alright, next up is the run and gun genre. So this one is basically, yeah, elevator action. Elevator action returns. Very good game. Yeah, I don't think it needs introduction, but it has great presentation, great music, and it's easy to pick up, easy to play. 1cc is not too bad on default difficulty anyway. It's one of the games that are like very enjoyable, very good. Hey Taurus, hey, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. I was just going over my my 1ccs, so I reached 150 games cleared, and I'm just doing a little bit of a recap. I wanted to keep this for the records, just for my personal records, you know, go over the achievements, you know, celebrate a little bit. Yeah, welcome. So yeah, well, I was doing the top 5 genre, and the second genre I was talking about is run and guns, and Elevated Action Returns was one of the games that I enjoy a lot. Pretty good. Metal Slug, I love all the games from the series. I cleared all the games from the series. But Metal Slug 2, I think, is the one that stands out the most for me, is because how... I think it's because I played it too much. You know, with these lists, you know what happens with these lists is that if you play the game too many times, it becomes your favorite. And the reason why, obviously, you play it a lot is because you like it. So these games I played so much that obviously became my top genre. Metal Slug 2, yeah, great game. It has slowdowns, it has a lot of issues. If you play the turbo, actually, the turbo hack is not too bad. But Metal Slug 2, great game, has a lot of good stuff in it. It basically improved over Metal Slug 1 when it comes to, you know, graphics, design, and also, yeah, the other Metal Slugs, mainly X and 3, improved on the formula. But I feel Metal Slug 2 is the one when they perfected the formula of Metal Slug 1. Obviously, Metal Slug 1, they nailed the formula from the beginning, but yeah, Metal Slug 2 was the is the benchmark of basically how to design it. You know, the bosses, you know, great bosses, insane stages, a lot of explosions. Like it's Metal Slug 1, but like better. The only problem is that the slowdowns and the stages, some stages can feel a little bit empty, especially early game. So that's why X came up and started to improve the formula. Metal Slug 3 obviously improved the formula, but went crazy with the content. But yeah, Metal Slug 3 is a different story, which in my opinion is a great game. So good, has a lot of good stuff in it, but I prefer Metal Slug 2 just because of, I don't know, nostalgia and also the way it looks. Pretty good. Mystic Warriors, yeah, this game I played recently, not a long time ago, I think like less than 6 months ago. Konami, I mean, what to say about Konami in terms of run and guns? They're super good, amazing. Yeah, Mystic Warriors. I only cleared it with Yuri, but I want to come back to it and clear it with different characters. But yeah, Mystic Warriors, it's basically Sunset Riders with ninjas. But it's way more than that. Like it's different. It's different than Sunset Riders when it comes to, you know, the mechanics and but obviously it takes the formula of Sunset Riders and improves on it. But yeah, Mystic Warriors, great stage design, great bosses, very satisfying clear. Especially the more you learn about it, the better. And also, I think the pacing. It's not a short game. It's like a medium. So like I think 35 minutes overall. So it's not a short game, but it never feels long. You know, this game never feels long. Never overstays its welcome. Super good. Next up is Rolling Thunder 3 on the Genesis. So I did the series, the Rolling Thunder series. I did a no death clear for all of the series. The 1, Rolling Thunder 2 on the arcade, Rolling Thunder 2 on the Genesis, and then I did the Rolling Thunder 3 on the Genesis, and I found Rolling Thunder 3 really surprised me in terms of like, it's a Genesis game, so it's not as good as like the Rolling Thunder 2 on the arcade in terms of like presentation, but it's an amazing game because of, you know, the content and how it looks and how it plays. The best run and gun on the Genesis, in my opinion. Obviously, there are other good run and gun games, but anyway. In my book, this is the best run and gun. Oh, and this is the best Rolling Thunder in the series. And last is Sunset Riders, the arcade. I would say the SNES one is also good, but I prefer the arcade because of how it plays. The design is great. The difficulty is very well balanced. The difficulty is super well balanced for Sunset Riders. I mean, it's not the difficult clear. Once you learn it, is easy. And yeah, super good. Super ultra big. Yeah, man. Yeah, debuff. Yeah, I know. At least yeah, you agree with me? That's good. That's good. I mean, not a lot of people agree with that, but honestly, Battlestar 2 for me is definitely the best in the series. Especially like if you play the hacked version or the ones that get rid of the slowdown, then for me it's the best. But yeah, everyone has a preference. I mean, some people like 1, some people like X, some people like 3. Yeah, you ask some people, they'll say, well, 3 is the best. Some people say, no, X is the best. Some people will say 1 is the best. Between those, the ones that doesn't get a lot of love is 4 and 5. 4 and 5, not a lot of people say they're their favorites. 6, maybe some people love it the best. I personally find, like, if I had to rank it for, let's say, best design, Metal Slug 6 has the best design, in my opinion. It made the formula so good. The pace is amazing. Final stage also is a bit on the longer side, but it doesn't feel like, super long. And it gives you great mechanics, great slugs. The variety is amazing on Metal Slug 6. Especially with different characters, like you can play you can play one character, and if you want to play a different character, you need to relearn the game. You can't just, switch it, like switch sprites and decide, okay, I'm gonna play Aerie with the same strats as Theo, for example. Two different styles. All right, moving on to the action platforms, which is not a genre I play a lot. So the ones that I play here are the ones that are basically played personally. So there's not a lot of them, but still, action platforms. I would say Osman, definitely top tier. It's basically it borrows the mechanics of Strider. It's not a Strider game per se. It's not it doesn't play like Strider, but it has the same, let's say, ideas as Strider. So Osman, top tier game, very good design, short game, sweet game, relatively easy to learn. The 1cc is not too bad. Doing it without dying, I would say, is a different story. It's very hard, but yeah, Osman, super good. Action platformer, I put Mickey Mania because of nostalgia reasons. And it's an amazing game. Maybe not the best design when it comes to platforming. Not a great game when it comes to platforming. It has a lot of issues when it comes to hit detection. When it comes to the how you gauge where you are. But Mickey Mania, super good. Top tier game. Just because of the graphics, the music, and I also, as a kid, I played it as a kid. Like I was what, like 13, 14 back in the day when it came out, and I played it, and I was amazed just by how beautiful the game is. And I played it as an adult, and I'm still impressed by how good it looks. Yeah, so that's on the my favorites per genre. Next one is Shinobi 3. Shinobi 3, no introduction, no needed to be introduced. Shinobi 3 is my favorite Shinobi of all the series, just because of the gameplay. I mean, stage design, amazing. The bosses are probably the weakest points of the game. Stages are also okay. They're not the best. Like some stages are memorable, but once you get into like the say the factories, those they're not very memorable. The factory, the gut stage is memorable, but the factories, the mechanical stages are not super interesting. But it has some iconic stage, the final stage, final stage music, the bosses. Yeah, I would say they're the weakest points, but in terms of gameplay, it's the best designed Shinobi. I would say it's the best designed platformer, period. It's so good. I mean, so smooth. It plays amazing. Yeah, nothing else to say about it. Steel of Salt, yeah, Steel of Salt, as I said earlier, it's a 2D action platformer. It's a mix of basically Castlevania, Mega Man, a little bit of like those two genres. And yeah, it's an amazing game. It's short, sweet. It came out in 2020, so it's a relatively new game. But it borrows a lot from the retro stuff. So yeah, amazing game. I'd say top 5 for sure. And then finally, Strider 2. So yeah, I didn't put Strider 1 just because there is Strider 2 basically. Strider 1 is the good game, amazing, but it has a lot of issues. It's not the best platformer in my opinion. Strider 2, Capcom just stepped up there. And we're talking Strider 2 arcade, not the Strider 2 NES or Strider 2 Genesis, No, there was Strider 2 on the Genesis, sorry. That was the only Strider 2 that came out. Here I'm talking about Strider 2, the arcade game, the one developed by Capcom, and the one that got a port on the PS2, on the PlayStation 1. Amazing game, has a lot of cool mechanics. It's basically a boss rush game. It's very well paced, has a lot of cool mechanics. The only thing I would say is it gives you only one life to clear it, so it's not the best. It's a bit unfair sometimes, especially like in the late game. Some bosses I feel a little bit unfair, especially. Yeah. Especially, sorry, I'm a little bit sleepy. Especially the final boss and the elephant boss. So those are a bit tricky, but Strider 2, amazing game. So yeah, this is my top 5. Very subjective top 5. Yeah, and yeah, it might change, but I think this is gonna stay because mostly I played all the games I wanted so far, and unless I discover a new game that I haven't played before, but this is probably my top 5, like ever. All right, so So I wanted to talk a little bit about like basically I went through how it started. Went through the numbers, little bit statistics, and I discussed basically my top game, most challenging versus the best in my opinion. And now we're going to talk about the future, my future projects. Yeah, thank you, Diba, for great list. Yeah, thank you, Hanan. Yeah, I mean, everyone has a list, but this is I like basically my bias is towards 16-bit era and arcade games. All right, so what's next? So my goals for the future, I have pretty much 3 categories of goals that I wanted to achieve. So the first one is, when I decided to go for this journey of 1cc, I decided to I started a list of games I wanted to clear, and that list grew and grew. As I was discovering new games, that my list grew. But I decided, okay, I'm gonna stop it at 150 games, and I'm gonna, like I can't just keep adding games and games. So I stopped at 150, and then I kept like putting those in the backlog. And basically my backlog is for arcade games. There's like 25 games that I wanted to clear. And we're gonna talk about them soon. So 25 games for arcade. So I'm gonna continue doing this, maybe on a slower pace. I'm not gonna probably continue at the same pace as I was doing things. But still, I'm definitely gonna continue doing 1cc's. So yeah, 25 extra arcade games. There's some console games also that I wanna clear. 25 of them. And also I wanna revisit some previous clears. And those clears I wanna do with either different versions of the game, especially arcade games. Like There's some Japanese versions versus US, and some of them are different, so I want to revisit them, or either redo the game but with different characters, or different routes, different challenges. So basically, those are the three categories. And if we dive into the different games, so for my 25 games, so here's the list of my next 25 games. Now I'm gonna go over them quickly because yeah, I don't want to basically stay for like the next 2 hours because there's a lot of them. But let's say Thunderzone. This is a great Data East game. It's like a isometric run and gun. Combat Tribes. This is the classic from Technos. I also want to do the Dark Seal series, Dark Seal 1 and 2. So that's Gate of Doom. Gate of Doom 1 and 2 definitely in my list. Alien Storm. Yeah, this is a mix basically of beat 'em ups, run and guns, and action platformers. So I'm gonna still continue those three. Ghouls and Ghosts. Yeah, sweaty game. Guardians, Denjin Makai. So I want to do Denjin Makai 1 and 2. Obviously, Denjin Makai 1 is a completely different game compared to 2, but I want to do both. It's a good one. Lightbringer. This is like a fantasy beat 'em up, isometric view. Very good. Yeah, Magic Sword, definitely in my list. I want to do Magic Sword, and I want to do also Black Tiger. Magic Sword and Black Tiger, they're relatively close, like in terms of let's say the idea. Black Tiger came before Magic Sword, but they borrowed the same fantasy theme. So yeah, definitely up there. Riding Fights. This is an interesting beat 'em up that I discovered. It's a Taito beat 'em up that has like I would say a scaling. It plays like a. It looks like I would say. What game can I compare it to? You know those Sega Super Scaler games. Yeah, the name actually, I forgot about the name, but anyway, those games like, Outrunner, it's similar view. And yeah, it's a good beat 'em up. I'm looking forward to learning it. Yeah, TMNT Turtles in Time, I want to do. Yeah, Space Harrier, exactly, yeah, Space Harrier, Captain Gordon, yeah, thank you. You got the idea. So yeah, Riding Fight is basically, I wouldn't say Space Harrier, but it looks like, has that super scaling effect. Taito came up with a couple of ideas. Yeah, rail shooters, exactly. Yeah, DBAP, rail shooter. But it's not a rail shooter, it's a beat 'em up. But it looks like a Space Harrier in terms of like, the view and everything. But it plays completely differently. So as I said, TMNT Turtles in Time, I've done the SNES version, which is the easy version. But I want to do a 1cc on the arcade version. TMNT Turtles in Time is probably the hardest TMNT to 1cc. I'm definitely not gonna do No Death. No Death in this game is like another level. It's basically 1cc, but the 1cc is not easy at all. It's a very hard 1cc because the game gives you 2 lives, and then there's rank in this game, and rank goes up quickly. So you need to like be on points. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. TMNT Turtles in Time. There's a couple of beat 'em ups like Karate Blazers. This is a relatively obscure beat 'em up, but it's a good one. Ninja Baseball Batman. Yeah, some Iron beat 'em ups as well, like Ninja Baseball Batman, Undercover Cops. Those are so good. Yeah, Iron was a good actually beat 'em up developer. They have some very good titles. They're known for running guns and shooting, but in terms of beat 'em ups, they have very good titles. Next up is Sailor Moon. Yeah, this is this sweaty game. we gotta try it. One of the I would say hardest beat 'em ups out there when it comes to 1cc's. Not the hardest because there's definitely strategies and stuff, but it's not an easy one because of how the timer works, from what I heard, and how you get damaged, and also the heals. You know, it's very cheap, but we're gonna try it. DD Crew, a classic beat 'em up. Say it doesn't play like a typical beat 'em up, but yeah, it's a classic beat 'em up. DD Crew, it's a bit janky on the janky side, but we're gonna go for it. Yeah, I said yeah, Michael Jackson, Moonwalker on the list as well. Top Hunter, this is the Neo Geo action platformer. Very good game. I added it to the list because I played it as a kid and I want to clear it, so definitely made it to the list. Battletoads Arcade, this one is sweaty. Yeah, this one is very sweaty because Battletoads games are very difficult, but the arcade game is something else. Yeah, Sailor Moon, yeah, it plays like Final Fights, yeah, exactly. But it's very sweaty. You have to do the infinite, yeah. Like you have to learn the infinite and abuse the infinite on bosses. There's definitely strategies for bosses. Like the typical strategy is basically go for it, and the typical strategy is, I think once you reach the boss, you need to like position yourself in a way and then infinite the boss. So there's definitely strategies to clear, but it's one of those beat 'em ups that are like difficult. Also, another difficult beat 'em up is Warriors of Fate. Yeah, Warriors of Fate, definitely hard beat 'em up, but we're gonna do it. Knights of the Round, yeah. I mean, there's nothing to say about Knights of the Round except it's a great game, but also a challenging one. Sengoku 3, also very challenging. The learning curve on that one is hard because there's like combos in it. You need to know how to do combos and shit, and it's not easy, but it's very doable. I mean, the 1cc, I played it casually, and I couldn't get past even with like spamming the credit feeding, and I couldn't get past like the mid game. But it's doable. I mean, it's not nothing we can't learn. And Gaia Police, yeah, Gaia Police is so good. Yeah, I've seen you clear it to DBAF, so I added it to the list because I mean it's such a good game. It's a bit on the longer side, but I like the mechanics. You know, I like that style of games. So this is arcade. So now let's talk consoles. So consoles, yeah, there's some like couple of classics that I want to do. Still, I need to get to them. But yeah, here I put some classics. Obviously, yeah, Contra 3, Wild Guns, Contra 4. I want to do Contra 4. Basically, finish off the Contra series. I've done a lot of Contra games. The ones that are left for me are Contra 3, Contra 4, and Contra Shattered Soldier. So those three Contras I want to do a no death on. It's not gonna be easy, but and also Contra Hardcore. 4 Contra games. After that, like yeah, there's Wild Guns. Wild Guns, such a good game. Xeno Crisis, Blazing Chrome. Yeah, those like shooting games. Definitely up there. Batman Returns. I want to do Batman Returns on the SNES. Pocky Rocky. I want to do Pocky Rocky Reshrine for the SNES and the PC. Finish off also Castlevania. There's a couple of Castlevania games I still need to know that. Bloodlines and Adventure Rebirth. Two of the good ones. I want to do also Rocket Knights, yeah. Pitfall, Blades of Vengeance. So those are like classic Genesis games. There's also Gunstar Heroes, yeah. This one I'll probably get to it very soon. Yeah, amazing game. And then Rapid Reload. So this is a run and gun that came out on the PS1, only in Japan, I think. I think there was a translation in Europe or a release in Europe, but it really flew under the radar. I didn't know about it until maybe last year. But yeah, this is a very good run and gun. So I'm gonna do that one. And there's also I don't do a lot of 3D games, but I watch Sifu, and Sifu actually is one of the beat 'em ups that I want to clear without dying. So yeah, I added it to the list. This is on the consoles. So now let's talk about the games I wanted to revisit. So these games I cleared before, but I want to revisit different challenges now. Starting with basically Streets of Rage 2. The only thing I still need to do on Streets of Rage series is basically doing Blaze, Mania, One Life Start, and 9 Life End. That's something that's something I want to do. So yeah, that's on Streets of Rage 2, Blaze Mania. No Zen Intergalactic Ninja yet? Damn. Oh yeah, I need to add it to the list actually. Yeah, you're right. Let me just add it to... Yeah, I've seen it. It's a good game. It's what, like a 20-minute game? Definitely. Definitely I need to do that one as well. Yeah, I've seen the game. It's pretty good, G-Story. So yeah, I'll definitely do it as a bonus. As a bonus 1cc for you, G-Story. Yeah, so we're gonna learn it, and then yeah, I'll do it as a bonus to 1cc or no death. I think it's very no deathable. We could do 1cc co-op there. I got one a while ago. Nice, yeah, we should do it. Eventually, definitely, I do that. Yeah, I didn't do a co-op on D&D. Yeah, well, congratulations anyway on the magic user. Yeah, that was a good clear. Yeah, good job on the clear. Yeah, you did co-op as well. Nice. Yeah, we should do co-op soon with on Shadow over Mistara. Yeah, such a good game. So yeah, I want to also revisit Metal Slug series. Obviously, I cleared all the Metal Slug games without dying for all the games from the main series anyway. But I still want to do, let's say, Metal Slug 3. I want to do a no death with an alternative path. I want to do like the hard path on Metal Slug 3. This one is probably going to be the hardest 1cc or hardest no death. Is the Metal Slug 3 on the alternative path. Because basically the alternative paths are like insanely harder. Especially stage 4 with the Japanese path. That's one of the hardest. I also want to revisit Metal Slug 4. Metal Slug 4 is one of the early Metal Slug games I cleared, so I want to revisit them. Metal Slug Double X I want to do also a revisit. This time with a different character. I want to do Leona, and also with a different path. Yeah, Metal Slug Double X doesn't branch paths a lot, but there is a couple of stages where there is branching paths, and I want to do that one. There's also Metamorphics Force. I wanna do Metamorphics Force without dying. I did the no death on the Japanese version, which is the easier version. I also want to do it on the US version, which is not a difficult one to do. It's doable, but it's way more challenging. It's like twice as hard because of the gauntlet health. So your health is basically it's like gauntlet game. It has numbers, so you start with 100, and then your health depletes with time. And also when you lose health, you basically, it doesn't regenerate unless you eat, you get food. Yeah, basically it's the same game. I think there's some difficulty also with the stages. There are like extra enemies, and also I think there's the gauntlet boss fight on stage 5 or stage 4, I think. Anyway, the arena stage. So I want to revisit that one. I also want to do Fixed 8, the Japanese version. I did the Euro version, which is the easy version. But Fixed 8, the Japanese version, is the hardest one. So I want to do a no death clear with it. Japanese version is harder because of the rank. The rank system, on the Euro version doesn't have a rank system. Or the rank is very low. It doesn't increase a lot. On the Japanese version, it increases a lot, so it makes it way harder. Enemies have more health. They shoot faster. Anyway, it's definitely on the harder side. There's also X-Men. I want to do X-Men. I did X-Men Japanese version. I want to do X-Men on US version. This one I'm gonna need to see which version actually is I can know that, because there's multiple US versions and I think one of them is impossible to do. So I'm gonna check the one that I can do actually. I'm gonna check Alorok. Alorok did a no death I think on one of the US versions. So I'm gonna check it out. Yeah. Well, also when I revisit with Mystic Warriors, Mystic Warriors is a great game. As I said, I want to go back to it, and I want to do a no death clear on the harder version. US version is insanely hard, but it's no deathable. It's not like impossible to do. So I want to go back and do it with a different character, maybe Brad this time. Yeah, King of Dragons. King of Dragons. I did King of Dragons before with Elf. I did a no death clear with Elf, but I did it on the easy version. So I want to go back to the game and do King of Dragons, the late version, which is a significantly harder version, and I want to do it with Wizard. Like I did it with Elf, so I want to switch the versions, and I want to do it with different character. Wizard is basically the top tier. I think he's the best character. Fighter is also good, but I think Wizard is probably the one that I'll enjoy the most. Alien Syndrome. I added this because I don't know. I like the Alien Syndrome personally. It's definitely not one of those games that are very popular. Especially the PS2 Master. It came under the radar, but PS2 Remaster is very good. It's actually a remake. When it comes to graphics, it's 3D graphics. But it takes the same idea, the same stages, the same bosses. The mechanics are different, but it gets the same idea. So I want to redo that. Also, I want to go back to Final Fight. Final Fight is a game that I want to see. I want to see the whole series, Final Fight 1, 2, 3. But I never did a no death clear on Final Fight Arcade, so I want to go back to it and do a no death. It's not an easy game. No death is. It's not like, for example, you can learn the game and then you go and then you're almost guaranteed that you're gonna get it within like a day, 2, or a week. This one actually, even if you get to a super good level, the death squad is gonna rob you. So you're gonna need a lot of luck here. So you can reach a certain, you can reach a certain level with Final Fights, but basically, it all gonna depend on Death Squad. Yeah, exactly. Stage 6. I mean, Uptown is the way to go. I mean, the Uptown is where the run starts, and technically, even if you're at a very good level, you can get robbed at any moment. Especially, you can play like a god and then get to the Death Squad and everything falls apart if you don't die before. Like the other parts are also difficult, but it's doable. I also want to revisit Shiloh over Mistari. Yeah, I did it with Elf and I beat the game with Elf and Fighter. So I want to revisit with Thief. Thief is the fun character. She's like melee, but harder than Fighter. So I want to revisit that one. Also, Alien vs Predator, my latest 1cc. So I want to go back to the game and then beat it with Predator. It's probably gonna be Predator Hunter at this point. I've seen both Predator Warrior and Predator Hunter. Predator Warrior is basically easy mode, although it's not an easy game to clear. But Predator Warrior, is like you have to work. But I think Hunter is the more fun character. And then I wanna also redo Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, but this time challenge myself way more and do it with the worst character in the game, Hannah, which is not an easy one. I can basically no death the whole game, individual stages, but the only stage that I struggle with is the slice or fight. Slice or fight with Hannah, it's something else. So that's gonna make it super sweaty. So yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, I wanted to go over the what my achievements, celebrate a little bit, talk about them, keep this for like the archives, and talk a little bit about my projects for the future. I'm very excited I came this far. I think what helped me is basically putting together a list, and with work, it helped having having free time actually from work, and having been able to balance that was definitely great. So I'm very grateful, and this is a hobby I'm very happy about. Just learning the games. I like the process of basically choosing the game, learning it, looking up strategies and practicing the game, and then going for 1cc's. It really gives me a lot of satisfaction. And yeah, I've been doing this for the last, I would say, 3 years and a half. And yeah, most like my pace was basically the last 2 years that were really like I've been at it very consistently. So yeah, I'm gonna continue, maybe at a slower pace, but I'm gonna keep going. I mean, there's still like a lot of games to play. There's like 25 games here, 25 games here, plus I don't know how many games there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe 15. Maybe the list is definitely a dynamic one. This is not like set in stone, but the order is gonna change. Obviously, the games are not gonna change. I'm still gonna do those games. I'm probably gonna add more games, but when it comes to these games, I'm probably gonna choose which ones obviously I want to do first, because yeah, so some games I might want to prioritize either because they're easier, or either because they're a bit more I think fun to play. Like for example, I'm definitely not gonna do Turtles in Times anytime soon. Alien Storm, definitely not anytime soon. Greedy Crew, Battletoads, Warriors of Fates, those games I'm probably gonna do them later. As opposed to, let's say, if I decide tomorrow from this list which one I wanna do, I might go either for Gaia Police, although it's a long game, or I might do Lightbringer. Those games, or maybe Black Tiger, just because of maybe they're more manageable. I wouldn't say easier, but definitely more fun. I would say I'm gonna have more fun learning these first than starting with a super difficult game. Yeah, well, that's what I had actually for the menu. Yeah, thank you guys for sticking around and for watching. Yeah, I wanted to sort of just talk about my games and go over things and discuss them. And I'll keep that for my record.